Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Magalski. Together with my guest experts, I cover topics ranging from cutting-edge healing modalities to hormonal harmony, to nutrition and plant medicine, to mindfulness and spirituality. My goal is to educate and inspire so you can create your own divine lifestyle. It's time to dive inward, rewire your brain, and heal from the inside out. I've got an exciting offer for all of my listeners. The free Divine Daily Practices video series. Get simple practices to release anxious thoughts, sharpen your intuition, and rewire your nervous system in less than 10 minutes a day. Come on over to my website at divinelifestyles.com/divine daily practices. And over the next week, you'll receive a complimentary self-care system to drop into your authentic self and activate your divine intuitive wisdom. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I am your host, Tara Magalski, and today we have the lovely Becca Kyle, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, who happens to be a very special woman in my life, which we're going to dig into. But Becca helps women who feel exhausted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from their bodies reclaim vibrant health and step into a life that they were meant to live. She has done that with me and some of my community members. And she has a deep understanding of connections between nervous system balance, hormones, digestive function, energy, cognitive function, sleep, and mood. And she teaches people how to reverse chronic symptoms, which is really what I want to talk about today. And Becca, I know you have also experienced your own chronic illnesses, PPD, burnout, and infertility. And you have come out on the other side thriving. So that is why I want you to be here today. You have helped me so much. And just to give the listeners a little bit of context, I met Becca from Tasha Blasi, who is a fertility coach. And you know, Becca and I got on the phone and I was like, oh, I've been doing all these tests, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, she started to review everything. And then she realized very quickly by the patterns that I still needed to do more diagnostic testing and was really able to help me figure out some root cause issues of a lot of symptoms that I have been struggling with personally for the past, 4.5 years. So thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. I'm excited. You know, I think really my goal is to empower women and to educate women. My background is I used to be a teacher, actually elementary school teacher. So educating is such a passion of mine, and I could talk about this stuff all day long. So much fun.
Amazing, because I want to pick your brain.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. What's your personal story of healing from a chronic illness?
So I started getting really sick right around the age of 3. And my mom, of course, took me to all the people and nobody could figure me out. I was a medical mystery for a really long time. I got my menstrual cycle at 11 and it was horrific from the start. I was estrogen. Looking back, I know I was estrogen dominant from the start. What I didn't find out, so I'm 46 now, I didn't find out till I was 42 that I have chronic Lyme disease. And so I remember pulling ticks off myself as a child and looking back and like, it was just the perfect pattern looking backwards, right? Like, oh, that makes so much sense if it's all the variables of what my chronic symptoms were that nobody could figure out. But back then the testing was terrible. You know, people didn't really understand it. I'm in Texas, so people still say, oh, you can't get Lyme in Texas, which is not true. And so I was really sick for a long time, and my mom wouldn't let me go to slumber parties because if I missed out on one night of sleep, I would get sick for a week, right? So it was a constant sort of fluctuation back and forth. And then when I finally decided I wanted to become a mother, I struggled big time. I had probably 7 or 8 chemical pregnancies. About that time is when I dove into genetics and found that that was my missing puzzle piece was my genetics. And once I really supported those things, I was able to get pregnant. I could get pregnant all day. I just couldn't stay pregnant.
That's the thing, and that's been my story as well.
So I understand what it's like. And then I had significant postpartum depression after one of my kiddos. There was some, childhood trauma wrapped up into all of it. It's just similar things that a lot of women experience. But I know what it's like to be a medical mystery. I know what it's like to have chronic illness. I know what it's like to be told it's all in your head when it absolutely is not. And I went into this profession in order to be able to solve my own health issues. I mean, I wanted to help other people as well because I'm really passionate about that. But I finally realized that nobody else was helping me. And so I was like, well, I'm going to take this into my own hands and do this for myself. And along the lines, I met some incredible people, learned so many things. And it's really my goal to make the world a better place. And I 100% believe that has to start with the health of women. Because and I love men, don't get me wrong, but women are such incredible change makers in the world because when they get healthy, they create what I call a generational legacy of better health. Because they tell their sister, they tell their aunt, they tell their mom, they tell their neighbor, they tell their bestie, right? And so what they learn, what they experience transforms the lives of those people around them, whether it's just being an inspiration of their friend, watching them transform, right? Or just saying like you do, like, I didn't even know this was a thing, right? And so I love, there's that saying, finding purpose in your pain. And I think that's an important aspect for me of taking everything I experienced and preventing other people from having to wait as long as I did to get answers.
Yes. I just want to address the fact that when you were speaking, I was smirking. It was because my husband was running in the background, which I'm sure people will watch, shirtless with a fluffy dog. So I was smirking, texting him going, really? Really? Because you're in the background with the dog in a pink vest. I can't.
It's keeping it interesting. Entertainment value just went right up.
Yes. So I was like smirking. My apologies, because I was like, silly. And you're like talking about how great women are and we love men, but they're silly.
Perfect timing.
So what, gosh, I don't even know where to begin because we have so much that I want to cover today, but I think what would be helpful is to just learn a little bit more about what you found in your story. And then we can even dig into my story if we want to, or just talk more generally. But what did you find about what was going on genetically for you while you were having the chemical pregnancies? Was it a lot like what we've been finding with me, that there was like these underlying issues or methylation?
Absolutely. I turned out to be a terrible methylator due to the genetic predispositions. And, if you don't know what your genes are telling you and what you're set up for, you can't honor your genetic blueprint through lifestyle. If you know what your genes are, you can honor through lifestyle. It's like you don't change your genes are what they are, but you can change how they express in the body. It's like flipping a light switch on and off. So yes, I have the lovely MTHFR gene that really was impacting my body's ability to convert that dietary folate to usable folate in the body. I also have a PEMT SNP, which impacts choline in my body. And so that really impacts methylation too. Choline is known as the methylation shortcut. And so without the choline, without the folate conversion, I was significantly undermethylating, which impacts everything. It can impact detoxification, energy, hormones, neurotransmitters. I mean, all of the things. I mean, without the methylation process working properly, your body's not going to work optimally. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh, yes, eating leafy greens is really important, but for me, I also need to supplement with folate, with choline, because I couldn't convert enough and I really needed to up level those nutrients in my body. And my last miscarriage was in a April. And then I really dove into genetics that summer, and not April of this year, but just at that time period, and dove into the genetics and got pregnant in August and stayed pregnant. And so really understanding what your body is set up for is really, really important, because to me, it's all about giving your body what it needs. And that looks different for everybody. There cannot be a cookie cutter situation when it comes to wellness. There just can't, because everybody is different. There's genetics, there's gut terrain, there's all of these things. So yes, I had significant genetics that were impacting me. And understanding those made all the difference in the world. I also had gut issues. I also had toxins. I had a lot of environmental toxins, which floored me because I ate clean. I didn't drink out of plastic. I didn't use aluminum deodorant, all the things.
Yeah.
But because for years I was probably undermethylating and I didn't know it at the time, my body was just storing toxins. So when I did that total toxin burden lab on myself, and I was like, what? There was so many, there's BPA, there was phthalates, there's glyphosate, there was industrial chemicals that who knows where those came from. But I used to live in the city, so there's stuff everywhere. So the lab work for me was magical because it gave me the answers that I needed. It gave me the knowledge, which is a gift. And with that gift, I was able to be really strategic and make some changes that allowed my body to function more optimally. Our bodies want to be in balance. They want to be in flow, but maybe you've been exposed to toxins. Maybe you don't know your genes. Maybe you're not supporting them, not because you don't want to or you can't, but because you don't know. And so to me was everything.
Yes. And that's what I want to dig into about labs, right? Why do you believe that like normal lab range often isn't significant to help diagnose? I mean, we all know this because we've been through this, but like, why does the conventional labs, like they just don't give us what we need?
Right. So the conventional lab work, think blood work, is great for, diagnosing diabetes. It's great for diagnosing anemia, right? But why do you have the diabetes in the first place? Why do you have the anemia in the first place, right? So conventional medicine is meant to diagnose you, give you a drug, give you surgery, send you on your way. And look, my last baby, I had a life-threatening condition with him. Our lives were saved by conventional medicine. There is absolutely a time and a place for it. However, conventional medicine is not designed to get you healthy. It's designed to manage symptoms, band-aid symptoms, manage disease with medication. And again, time and place. Absolutely. But it's not designed to think, okay, you have this diagnosed condition. Why? Let's backtrack. Let's keep going. And so, for example, if you have been diagnosed with significant blood sugar issues, well, are you digesting and absorbing your protein, for example? You can't have blood sugar management without protein. If you're not, so it's not you are what you eat, it's you are what you absorb. And if you're not absorbing your protein, why? Do you have pathogens that are messing up your gut, and then you're not making up the digestive enzymes to support that, right? Like, or if you're anemic, I had a client 2 years ago who was not allowed to get pregnant by her doctor. She desperately wanted to because her iron was so low. I mean, it was bottom of the barrel. She did infusions. She did, everything she could think of to do. Came to me so frustrated, like just hopeless. She's like, this is never gonna be my story, right? And I said, no. Let's find some data on your body. She had raging candida. Candida will literally nosh up your iron before you can use it. Guess what happened? You clear the candida, her iron levels went up. She was cleared to get pregnant. And so conventional medicine's not interested. And it's not the doctors. They're not trained to look for stuff like this. They get like an hour, 2, 3, maybe on nutrition, right? Like they're not trained for this type of investigation, or their hands are tied via insurance. You're only allowed to spend 10 minutes with somebody, right? Or whatever. And so they're bound by these parameters that don't allow them to deep dive with someone. There's so many variables involved. Even if they want to, they're like, I got to go to the next person who's waiting. I've got to see 50 people today, or whatever it looks like. And so what I love about the functional kind of holistic space is, one, we make time for people.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client today, or a potential client, and she just cried the whole time. She's like, thank you for believing me. Thank you for listening to me. She literally just had a gastroenterologist tell her that her symptoms were all in her head. And it's just heartbreaking that so many women are being gaslit, dismissed, denied simply because these doctors don't have the training. It's, can't fault them for it. They don't know what they don't know. But I would say that more of the root cause approach is what allows people to get healthy. What nutrient deficiencies do you have? What toxins do you have? What pathogens do you have?
Yes.
What's your stress level? How's your nervous system? What childhood trauma are you storing in your body? All of these things. There's that saying that your biography makes your biology. Everything you've experienced, whether it's a toxin exposure or trauma, or any kind of stress, your body stores at the cellular level. And when we go to the doctor for help, they're not thinking on those terms. And so it's just a completely different approach.
Yeah, so I'd love to share a little bit about our journey together because I think that could be really helpful to people listening. So I started working with a reproductive immunologist, and I started working with Tasha right around the same time. And with Tasha, she was like, you must, meet with Becca. So Becca and I reviewed some labs, and, then you started to look at the testing that I was getting done from the reproductive immunologist. And, it's kind of like I was just coordinating all the parties involved. And then finally you were saying, okay, I understand that they are saying you have these NK cells it's looking like you have this autoimmune condition. And we all know that I have, high estrogen. I'm estrogen dominant. We also knew that my body, I have the MFHTR. We also knew that perhaps my body was not methylating everything really well, or it was overactive. So my question was always like, do I have an autoimmune? I know that in Chinese medicine, it's a spleen, liver, kidney deficiency, right? If you're having some sort of blood stagnation. So is this a liver kidney thing? Is this an autoimmune thing, right? The endo, or what is happening in my body? My viral load is high. And it was you because at first I was just so confused. Why is my body not in homeostasis?
Yeah.
And they were giving me medications, but then I was having some side effects. And then you had said to me, I'd really like to just run a few more tests on you. And to this day, I'm like, let's just run more tests, because we were able to find out, there was the mold and we have the Epstein-Barr. And so the body is reacting, right? There is a root issue. And now I really feel like we're getting to the stage where, okay, now it's time to heal the gut. Yeah. It's one thing at a time that I'm learning about my body. Okay, I know this, so let's handle this. I know that I have estrogen dominance and I'm not methylating E4 estrogen, right, from the Dutch test. So if maybe, I don't know, if you can just share with people who are listening a little bit more. I mean, I'm fine to share me as an example of how you work with someone and how you can pinpoint what's going on for them.
Yeah. So first, let me go backtrack for a second. Anything autoimmune, some of the biggest triggers are mold and Epstein-Barr. So, you kind of had this perfect storm for having immune imbalances. And then immune imbalances also go right back to the gut. So, just wanted to kind of make that little point that you kind of just had this all of these variables in your body that, yeah, it's going to imbalance your immune system. So, full transparency, I'm super ADHD. But my neurodivergent brain can pick up on patterns. So I'm always picking up patterns from different things. And this is connected to this, is connected to this, is connected to this, right? So, an example could be, fungal overgrowth can create oxalates. Oxalates can bind to minerals in the gut. So then your minerals are low. So then you can end up with metabolic issues and nutrients not getting into cells because your minerals regulate cell membrane permeability. So then all of a sudden your adrenal hormone and thyroid hormones not getting into cells. Nutrients aren't getting into cells. So When we think about, someone goes to the doctor and they have all the symptoms of hypothyroidism, but their doctor's like, your blood work looks fine. You're in range, which medical range on blood work is ridiculous anyway. I use optimal or functional range, which is much narrower. But, sometimes it is like for thyroid, it could be a glandular issue. Your thyroid might not be making enough hormone. Or maybe it's a conversion issue. So much of your thyroid hormone's converted in the gut and the liver. Or maybe your hormone's not getting into cells, right? Your traditional medical doctor's not thinking in those terms, right? And so, it started with the fungus, which created the oxalates, which bound to the minerals. So then you're all mineral deficient, right? So there's these patterns, and the tests I use all talk to each other. They're very, very synergistic. So, what shows up on the gut labs talks to the mineral labs, which talks to the hormone and adrenal labs, right? Everything is connected. And when I'm, working with someone, when I'm looking at lab work, that's my perspective. Every single thing is connected. There's not a single symptom or problem in the body that's on an island by itself. Everything is connected. And when we take that connected approach, I call it metabolic chaos, right? Like, you might never know exactly what came first. And it doesn't matter. The trick is, okay, you have all of these things going on. They're all feeding off of each other. So something that's happening in an organ system here might be causing something down here, right? And so the trick is to, not like, we don't treat lab results, right? So you take the lab results, they're just puzzle pieces, and you have a deep understanding of the client's health history, symptom presentation, and you just start connecting dots. And when you start connecting dots, then there becomes this order of operations that you address things in, right? So even just like pathogens, right? We have to address certain pathogens first. So like, parasites are big. Then we have bacteria. Then we have yeast, right? So I've heard people say, I'm going to do a candida cleanse, a candida diet. I'm like, good luck, because candida can hide in parasites. So you do all this work to go on a candida cleanse, but you don't address the parasites. Guess what? You're not getting rid of the candida. And then candida also provides a protective measure in the body against metals. So if you don't address the heavy metals, you're not getting rid of the candida, right? So you really have to look at the whole picture. I'm a total data. I love data. I love science. And so the more data we have at a time, the faster we can go, because we get the more complete picture, which is why I love the lab results, because yes, there are foundational principles of health, eat well, move well, get sunlight, get good sleep, work on your trauma, but you can't fix what you don't know is wrong. And so really looking at those, what I call, they're just hidden healing opportunities that the body is speaking to, because symptoms aren't the problem. They're the results of the problem. Symptoms are just your body saying, hey, pay attention, something's not right. It's just communication.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I love when you say like your body isn't broken, it's just not communicating.
Yeah,
So it's, something's in the way.
exactly.
So now that that we're gonna do the parasite thing, it's kind of like, so if someone like me, like, it's kind of like, where do you begin? Like, because as you and I were doing more testing, I'm like, wow, we're finding out more and more, and it's becoming overwhelming, right? But I do understand what you're saying. Like, it is all just one thing, right? The Epstein-Barr that I got in my 20s is elevated because of some other things that are happening. And maybe I'm not getting my nutrients, right? And my minerals. Because we noticed that after doing those 3 months, and then we retested some of the antiviral and antifungal, it wasn't moving the needle. So then I thought to myself, it has to be my gut, right? It has to be how I'm processing.
Yep.
And so and that was my other thing, Becca, I wanted to tell you, was like, I really felt this intuition to do this the parasite, because I felt, what if I'm not getting any of these tincture minerals that I'm doing for the antiviral and the antifungal? Like, who knows if that's even going to be working at its optimal best if I am having parasites that are possibly, in the way.
And the issue with parasites is they're notoriously hard to detect on lab work. That being said, I do see them pop up on the GI map pretty frequently, but not as frequently as I believe they should. So parasites are really smart little creatures, and they tend to go undetected on lab work. And so, it can be a little bit of a complicated topic because, it's like, well, do we just assume everyone has them? We can absolutely go that route. But sometimes, like with you yourself, you had all of these variables show up, and then we have to prioritize. What are we going to address first? What are we going to address second? So then bringing in a variable like, well, do you have parasites or don't you have parasites? It can be complicated because we have the data on what we know and we need to address. So do we throw something in? But I think, what you said is your intuition was telling you something, and you had this experience recently that told you something. And I fully believe that our bodies are so
Well, I'll
innately,
share.
our bodies are so smart. And
Yeah.
so part of it has to be listening to your body and listening to that intuitive voice saying, hey, what about this? I think so many women are so busy, just go, 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 so overwhelmed that when that little voice speaks, they don't hear it, or they're not paying attention, they're not listening to it.
Well, this is the thing, as you know, like I've been doing everything except like I'm doing the best to manage my stress based on all the things that I have to do for my health.
Yeah.
But I'm going to share with you and the audience a little bit about. So I did this ayahuasca ceremony. Did the ayahuasca ceremony like last Monday, and I had this amazing experience. I'm going to write all about it. I had a full Kundalini awakening. It was amazing. It was blissful. I looked at some shadow stuff, but it was all beautiful, and it was a liberating experience and profound, transcendent experience. But after I noticed, I did a lot of spiritual purging, but I didn't do any physical purging. But I was purging through my GI. Lots of poop. And it was great though, because I was getting things out and it felt wonderful. But right after the ceremony, and we all know that ayahuasca can affect the GI, right after the ceremony, it was like a 5-hour ceremony, my stomach was sticking out like I was 5 months pregnant. So that's what got me dropping in a little bit deeper. And over the next few days, I was still releasing a lot bowelly through my bowels. And I was in very clear, very connected, and very, I could almost feel, okay. And as I talk about it now, I can get the same sensation in my stomach. I could almost feel something like squeezing inside, like a parasite. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. This was after the ceremony. I'm out of the medicine. I could feel something in my lower, like, intestines. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It just felt like a bug. Like, I was like, ooh, what is this feeling? And it was so weird. And I had never had this feeling before. Okay. It was like as if the parasite was speaking to me. Okay. Like literally, I was like, what is going on down there? Please speak to me. Give me some more information. And then I went and did an integration session the next day with the curandera shaman that I was working with. And we started talking, and I started to share this experience. And she said, parasites, I am getting for you that this is like a parasite. And as she was saying that, the feeling got stronger and stronger in my stomach, and my stomach started to make noise. It was like, and I was like, ew, like I felt like the parasites were like yelling from my intestines at me. Okay. It was disgusting.
Hey guys, we're here.
I was like, what is going on? Right. And I'm in this heightened state of like receptivity and sensitivity coming out of the medicine. And she's like, I'm telling you, just listen and see how this feels in your body. And she was telling me, and it was like I had this visceral, literal, guttural response. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay. And I ordered the herbs right away. I think I reached out to you too. And I was like, hey, I'll tell you later, but I got to order these. Is this okay? And you're like, I'm on vacation. I'm like, okay, I'm ordering them. So I just had this really strong feeling in my body. And it took 4 days for my stomach to get less irritated. But like I said, it was as if there was a twisting happening inside my intestines that was extremely painful.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what this is, but it just seemed like it was knocking at the door. Right. And so anyways, long story short, I decided that this parasite cleanse must come next. And then I started thinking about us working together and us doing some like more tests, like we're doing this hair analysis, mineral test. And then I said, I wonder why after 3 months of doing that, really like all of those antivirals, why it wasn't moving the needle as much as we thought. Mm-hmm. And it just got very clear to me that my gut is weak and it needs to be addressed. And not only was it MHFTR and other genetic factors, probably had a lot to do with my stomach.
Right.
So,
if you've got the parasites, that's going to impede absorption, right? So again, it's not just food. It's you are what you absorb with, tinctures and herbs and nutrient vitamins and minerals too. And so I think that I love that you had this experience, not only that you had this experience, but you listened, you paid attention, and you acted on it. And I think more women need to slow down. They don't have to go and have this magical experience necessarily, just everyday life. Like, give yourself time to listen to your body. Give yourself the gift of time to slow down enough to listen to what your body is telling you. We live in a very busy world. And it can be so easy to just get sucked into the daily grind and push and hustle and all these things. But our feminine bodies are meant to be slower and in flow. And I'm not saying I do a great job of that every day because of life. But when I'm very, very purposeful in those things just start aligning. And I can listen to my intuition. So the way my body speaks to me intuitively is through full body chills. I get the full body chills. I'm like, yes, okay, that's a big yes, right? And so, but when I'm go, I almost never get chills because I'm not going slow enough.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk a little bit about the biological connection between stress hormones like cortisol, gut health, and overall vitality, because that's literally me. So, and I think it's a lot of women.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's this kind of triangle that happens between your gut, stress, and your hormones. So I put stress into 3 buckets. I love bucket analogies. Like everything's a bucket, but we have the emotional stress bucket. So that's relationships, your job, the world. We have physical stressors. So when I ripped 2 ligaments off my rotator cuff, that was a physical stressor. Sitting too long can be a physical stressor. Over-exercising can be a physical stressor. And then all the things that show up on these functional labs are the biochemical stressors. So that's the pathogens, toxins, nutrient deficiencies, right? Well, all those types of stress can fill up your stress bucket, right? And so sometimes people are like, I'm not stressed out. Well, maybe you don't have that many emotional stressors. That's great. But you probably have those hidden biochemical stressors that you don't know. You don't know what your biochemical stressors are without the testing. And that's where that magical testing comes in. But let's say you have 0 emotional stressors, 0 physical stressors, but you have some biochemical stressors.
Yes, because you live on a farm in the middle of nowhere.
My ranch that I will have someday, my commune. And so that can still send your body into stress mode, fight, flight, or freeze, right? And when our body is in stress mode, when we are outrunning that proverbial tiger, getting ready for the famine, the kind of old school caveman era of stress, right? Our hormones shut down because the body senses it's not safe. When the body senses it's not safe, it says, guess what? This is not a safe time to make a baby. Now, Not everyone's wanting to make a baby, but the point of that is it will dysregulate your hormones, which can then look like PMS, a bad period, a crazy perimenopause, whatever that looks like, whatever life stage that you're in. And so one of the most impactful ways you can regulate your sex hormones is by dealing with your stressors. And your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, as that rises, it depletes your gut immune system. So then you're more susceptible to pathogens. You're more susceptible to gut dysfunction. That gut dysfunction, those pathogens and toxins. So when I say toxins, there's two sources. One's the environment, heavy metals, environmental toxins. But these pathogens create toxins in your body. So if you have all these overgrowths in your gut, your body becomes its own source of toxic exposure, right? So people are like, I filter my water and I eat organic. Well, that might not be your problem. It might not be your environment. It might be your body. And so those pathogens and toxins, they become a source of stress for your body, further rising your cortisol, further sending you into fight or flight, further dysregulating your hormones. So I do this, this big perimenopause workshop, which we did the other day. And so much of having a positive perimenopause transition or having a positive hormonal cycle at all is dealing with your stress response and balancing out your nervous system. Again, everything is connected. And then again, let's go back to that mineral example. Let's see, you've got fungus in your gut, you've got mold that's creating the oxalates binding your minerals. Your minerals are so necessary for your stress response. Sodium, potassium, huge minerals to be able to respond to stress with vitality. So to me, it's about what I call creating buffer. When you don't have buffer, one little stressor, one little relational stressor is going to cause your bucket to overflow, and then you are in full dysregulation, full fight or flight, right? But if we can deal with the biochemical stressors, address those, that empties out your stress bucket. So think of a bucket that's got, an eighth full, right? So you've emptied out your stress bucket. Then when life happens, because we all know life will happen, that's something that's crystal clear, right, these days, is that you have the capacity to deal with that stress without it causing you to overflow, right? So it's about building in that buffer, building that resiliency, that capacity to deal with what life throws at you. Because let's face it, those relational stressors are sometimes the hardest and longest to deal with. My shoulder took a year to heal after surgery. But those biochemical stressors we can address sooner rather than later. And so I think that's where the magic of dealing with those and addressing those and knowing what those are is once you know what those are, you can fast track your way to better health. And I think so many people have spent years and even decades being like, I don't understand what's happening in my body. And it can be so frustrating and so overwhelming. And then your health issues become a source of stress. And then it just perpetuates the cycle.
Yes, believe me, I know. Everything that you are speaking about, I have experienced or are experiencing. And this is why, diet, I do, right? Yes, I fall off here and there and have some chocolate, right? Or I might have a piece of cheese. That's as bad as it gets. Literally, there's no red meats, so I'm also everything in moderation. But for me, it's really been the nervous system regulation, because I've been noticing that because of all these underlying pathogens and things that we found, I can't handle stress well.
Yeah.
And my body, breath work is becoming breath work and meditation and going out in nature every day and putting my feet in the earth. I have to do it, even if it's just 10 minutes, and getting that early morning sunlight every day I can in New York, that it doesn't rain, because it's been raining forever. So I literally wake up, I'm like, it's not raining. Okay. I go out to my dock and have my celery juice. But what are some other steps that people can take to reclaim their nervous system health and support their healing?
So there are some things that I like to call low-hanging fruit. These are the basics. If your nervous system is really dysregulated and you're not doing the basics, your body's probably not going to handle a parasite cleanse very well, right? So you've already kind of touched on some things. That early morning sunlight The spectrums of light in the sunrise are so healing for our entire endocrine system, all of our hormones. So I get up at like 6:15, and I get up, I drink my warm lemon water, and I go on a walk and I live out in the kind of the country. So it's kind of my nature as well. I come back, and then I get my two little kind of devotional meditation books, and I spend 15 minutes outside with my feet on the earth, doing my meditation, my prayers, really setting the stage for the day. So having quiet time in nature, grounding, sunlight, super, super important. Then when it comes to food, fasting's all the rage. And I'm not anti-fasting if I know what your adrenal function is. Because if you are already in fight or flight, and then you're like, I'm going to start fasting, whether it's you're trying to like just get healthy or lose weight or whatever it is, that fasting is a huge stressor on your body. So then, these women, they're like super stressed out. They're like, I'm going to try fasting. And then they start gaining weight, or it's just not, or it's really tanking their energy. It's because the fasting has become a stressor on the body. So one of the most important ways a stressed out woman can teach her body that it is safe is eating breakfast, a protein, fat, and fiber focused breakfast within 60 minutes of waking. And it's like, we're feeding ourselves. We're safe. We're not in a famine. We're not, outrunning a tiger, right? It's like when we feed ourselves, we're teaching our body, you are safe, you are loved, you are nourished, you are cared for. So eating breakfast is going to be super, super important. And then also the thing with the morning sunlight is quality sleep starts in the morning. Getting that early morning sunlight really regulates your circadian rhythm. Excuse me, I'm going to take a drink.
And drinking water.
Yes, got my water. And then when it comes to sleep, so many women do this whole thing of, but it's my me time. Midnight, 10 to midnight is the only time I get for myself, right? And I get that. But the most healing hours of sleep for your adrenals, for your nervous system, are between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Every hour of sleep you get before midnight is worth 2 after midnight. So these people are like, but I'm getting my 8 hours from midnight to 8. It's not the same sleep. It's not the same healing. So if you're missing out on 10 to midnight, you're missing out on a huge, powerful time in your body for healing and supporting your nervous system. That's when the cleanup crew comes in. So sunlight, grounding, nature, prayer, meditation, eating breakfast, getting to bed by 10, and maybe you're like, there's no way. You don't have to do it all at once. Baby steps, right? Like bring your body 10 minutes, then a couple of days later, 10 minutes early, then a couple of days later, 10 minutes early. And one of the most other important things that will impact your stress response and be a huge stressor on your adrenals and your sex hormones is blood sugar.
Mm-hmm. Which is definitely my case. Have to eat.
Blood sugar dysregulation will force hormonal compensation, and then everything gets thrown off. So blood sugar imbalance is one of the biggest things that will stress out your body. But guess what? One of cortisol's main jobs, your stress hormone's main jobs, is to regulate blood sugar. So chronically high stress can equal chronically high cortisol, which keeps blood sugar high. Then it becomes this cycle. So we have to be very proactive in managing our blood sugar. That's starting your day off again with protein, fat, and fiber focused. And I'm not anti-carb. Women need carbs. We need carbs for our hormones. But, sometimes I get a client who's like, I'm eating oatmeal every day for breakfast. And I'm like, please don't do that. You're just spiking your blood sugar first thing in the morning and stressing out your body. Or it's a really super fruit forward smoothie without any protein in it. And what you start your day out with for breakfast will set the stage for blood sugar regulation all day long. Mm-hmm. Or they're like, I ate a snack. It was an apple. That's a naked carb. You got to pair that carb with protein, whether it's a handful of nuts or a boiled egg or a grass-fed beef stick, whatever. It doesn't have to be this giant meal. And so blood sugar regulation is one of the biggest keys for hormonal balance and for nervous system balance. And again, it becomes the vicious cycle of The blood sugar dysregulation stresses your body out. Higher cortisol continues to make your blood sugar high, and it just becomes this cycle. So, you know, in health and wellness, I feel like we do talk a lot about negative cycles a lot. And I just finished talking about one. But there's such a positive cycle that happens in when you get healthy. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of professional women, and they're like, I'm not the symptom hijack that I can't work any harder. I can't be more creative. I'm just tired. I'm exhausted. And there's this really positive cycle that comes out when you start investing in your health. And that when you start getting healthy, your productivity increases, your creativity increases, your capacity increases, your resiliency increases. So then everything in your job and your business, whatever you do, starts getting better. Maybe you start making more money, you get more clients, whatever. And then you have more money to invest in your health. Then you invest more money in your health, you get even healthier, and it becomes this positive cycle. And I know, I've heard it from everyone. I've felt it myself. Some of these tests are expensive, and they are, and insurance doesn't cover it. And it can be kind of disheartening sometimes to think, in this country, the true health costs a lot of money. But at the same time, it is the foundational baseline for being able to make more money, right? And being able to do what you want to do in your profession. And, that's why, when I utilize lab work, I offer my practitioner pricing. Like, I don't see the need to charge retail for labs, just for example, the Dutch test. The practitioner pricing is $300. You pay $300 to run that lab with me for that lab fee. Well, the retail price is $500. And a lot of practitioners charge retail price, and it's their prerogative. It's how they run their businesses, and that's fine. There's no judgment there. There's nothing wrong with making money. But I'm really passionate about making this type of wellness care more accessible to people.
Yes. Amen.
Important thing.
Amen. You know that is my mission with my company. How do we make holistic health and healing more accessible to more people? Because that we have to create ways that's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
So more people can get healthy. So, I mean, look at where we are in the world with the things that are in all of our products. It's like the change starts with us, first of all. Absolutely. But one thing you said to me, and I think it was right before we did like our last round of testing, I was like, oh my God, Becca, I think I cried after our call. I was like, I just feel like I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. And you were like, listen, regardless of wanting to get pregnant or not, you need to understand how your body works so you can feel amazing at 50. Like, you need to be, and I was like, oh, you're right. And you're like, we need and I want to talk a little bit about the midlife transitions as opportunities, because I feel like I'm there too. It's like, we're not declining. Yes, I'm having the changes. I'm at the beginning of the perimenopause, right? But you talk a lot about this being a breakthrough or a transformation, not a decline.
Yep, absolutely. Perimenopause, I'm 46, right in it. It is an opportunity, because the hormonal shifts and everything that starts changing is a little bit of a wake-up call.
Yes.
So we women, we have what I call superpowers. So when you're cycling regularly, our menstrual cycles are a litmus test for health and wellness. So if you have horrible PMS or really heavy flow or really bad cramps, your body is telling you you're inflamed, that something's not right. Your cycle shouldn't be miserable. It should be a blip on the map, right? Same with perimenopause. Oh, hot flashes and irritability and frozen shoulder and heart palpitations and all of these things, right? It doesn't have to be horrific. But the interesting thing about perimenopause is it is a time. It's like a tipping point, a physiological tipping point, when maybe some things that have been simmering really start to come to a head because of all the hormonal shifts, and things become more apparent. So it's a really beautiful time. It's an opportunity to really become an active participant in your wellness, because when you start taking charge of those things, it's what we do now impacts our bodies, our brains, especially when we're 70, when we're 80. And I don't know about you, but I want to be that 100-year-old lady kicking butt, poking people in the grocery store with my cane, just to mess with them, right? Like, I want to be like, oh, that like little crotchety old thing, like going strong, where people are like, wow, she's doing great, right? I want to be 100 and like kicking butt. And so, the degenerative brain disease is what scares me the most. It's not my physical body.
Yeah.
Having experienced family members with dementia and Alzheimer's
Yes.
things. And so it's just a beautiful transition into, it's a metamorphosis, right? Into really deepening that relationship with yourself, listening to your body and taking action. I think for a lot of women, they spend their 30s and maybe early 40s building their business, opening their career, building families, whatever it is you're doing. And you get so entrenched in all of that you forget that you have to take extreme, extravagant, and luxurious care of yourself. And so
I like that. Extreme, lavish, and luxurious.
we should be, right? Even if that means like getting out and getting the morning sunlight, right? All wellness does not have to, some of the stuff costs nothing except a little bit of your time, right? But we have to make time for ourselves. There's that saying, I hate it. It's the pour from an empty cup. We are not cups to pour out of. And so, if we think about the like overwhelmed, exhausted, strung out, irritable version of ourselves, or we think about the calm, peaceful, balanced version of ourselves, who's going to serve our loved ones more? Which version, right? We are not cups to pour out of. We are serving bowls. And self-care, it's not, could be a day at the spa, and that sounds great, but that's what I'm talking about. Self-care is literally, what are you doing every day to care for yourself? Is it the early morning sunlight? Is it the grounding? Is it eating breakfast? Is it going to bed at 10 o'clock? And self-care is literally placing things in your bowl to where it fills up. And we serve the people we love through the overflow. That's what it really should be. And so I fully believe that perimenopause is a beautiful metamorphosis time to really step up and show up for yourself daily in ways that you never have before. It's a perfect time for it.
I love it. Let's just chat a little bit more about the functional tests, like GI map, Dutch, the HTMA, like total toxin, right? How do they help you just like uncover these underlying issues? I kind of want to just like drive this home for people who are listening, because I think this is such a big part of what I was missing. Was really showing those threads, and people who are not, don't know much about functional medicine testing. I just want to drive this home to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the functional labs allow us to understand what your biochemical stressors are. So the GI map is a single stool sample. All of these lab kits come to your house, by the way, so you're not having to run all over the place. The GI map is a deep dive into gut function. And so we're looking at good bacteria, pathogenic bacteria, H. pylori, digestive markers. Are you digesting and absorbing your protein and your dietary fats? Are you recycling toxins? What's your gut immune system doing? Excuse me. And those puzzle pieces give us this broad spectrum, deep dive look at your gut, which is connected to your brain, which is connected to your nervous system, which is connected to your hormones, which is connected to your energy, minerals. Everything's connected to your gut. What doesn't pop in a stool sample is fungus. So I use the organic acids test for that. That's going to be candida. That's going to be mold. But the really cool thing about the organic acids test is it's a metabolic snapshot of so many other things. It's oxalates, it's mitochondria, super important for fertility and energy. It's neurotransmitters. So think mood, motivation.
Did I do that test?
You did.
I did total toxin.
The total toxin. So that's a different look at it's looking at the toxins from mold.
Okay.
Then we have HTMA, which is hair tissue mineral analysis. It's a hair sample. So this is looking at tissue level minerals, like what's actually getting into your cells. So if your minerals are off, they're out of balance, it throws off your entire metabolism. Now, most people, when they hear that word, they think weight. It's part of it, but it's also energy. It's adrenal function. It's stress response. It's thyroid function. And so we get a really beautiful look at all of these ratios and heavy metals too. It shows up on that. Man, something's got in my throat. I think I swallowed a cricket. Not really, but I've been actually talking a lot today. So then we have the total toxin burden, which is one of my favorite labs. I love it so much. It's looking at mycotoxins from mold. It's looking at all those environmental toxins. It's looking at urinary metals. We can get a beautiful look at your toxic burden. And if we know what you have, you can better limit your exposure. Then we have the Dutch test, which is a deep dive into stress response, adrenals, nervous system, and hormones. Genetics tell us your predispositions. I mean, you can test for anything under the sun these days, which is super fun. But those are like my foundational labs. And, not everyone wants to do 6 labs. I get it. I do because I'm a giant nerd.
Yeah, I do because I am a detective in my own body. I want to know everything.
Yeah. So the more data we have at once, the faster we can go. The more puzzle pieces we can put together, the more dots we can connect. So I have some people who are like, all I can do is 1 lab. Okay, let's talk about what might be the most important lab to prioritize for you right now based on your symptom presentation. And it's a great place to start. We don't feel bad about that. We're like, yeah, you are starting. Let's go. And some people who are like, I want to do your 6 lab, 6-month program. And so we are like meeting on a regular basis and deep diving into all the lifestyle factors and nervous system and all that, right? There's no bad place to start. I think it's just important to get started. And then each lab, has a different fee associated with it because the labs set the fees for what they charge to process your samples. But, all of them are so worth it. They're so incredibly worth the investment. And it can be a little overwhelming when you do get a lot of data, but that's where, walking hand in hand with somebody, a practitioner who understands these things, can be really helpful because we can say, yes, this is a lot, but we're going to start here. Then we're going to go here. Then we're going to go here. And we're going to do bite-sized chunks. I love that saying, consistency over intensity. Okay,
I love that too.
Things and then go to the next thing and then get really good at that and then go to the next thing. It doesn't have to be all at once. I mean, you didn't get where you are in 30 days. You're not going to heal your body in 30 days. It has to be the concept of a marathon versus a sprint, right? Mm-hmm. We are long-term projects. And people think they want to go on this uphill climb, reach the pinnacle of health and stay there. It doesn't work that way because life. A death in the family, a job loss, a car accident, life happens and it can bring us down a notch. But the goal is to build that resiliency and that vitality and that capacity so that when life happens and you go down into a valley, you don't stay there. You can get back up and climb up that mountain. And so I fully believe that functional labs combined with the nervous system work, the trauma work, the breath work, the grounding, all of these other things. Like if you say, I'm just going to do this parasite cleanse, but I'm not going to work on my nervous system. I'm going to ignore that childhood trauma. I'm not going to get sunlight. I'm not going to get sleep. I'm not going to worry about my diet. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to kind of combo it. So for example, for perimenopause, I'm on hormone replacement therapy. Love it. Huge fan of the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. But if that's all you're doing, it's a Band-Aid. You've got to address all the lifestyle factors too.
So where can everyone learn about you and how to work with you and book a consultation call?
Yeah. So my brand is Holistic Obsession. Literally, I was standing in my kitchen one day years and years ago and thinking of my brand name. And, I'm always percolating on something, right? Like, what's that? What's what? Always learning, always growing. And one day I said to myself, I talk to myself all the time. I'm like, man, Becca, you are obsessed. And I was like, oh, that's it. I am obsessed, but in a good way, which means I don't give up on people. I don't say, too bad, so sad. We can't figure you out. See you later. No, I keep going. I don't give up. And sometimes there's really simple cases, sometimes really complex cases. But so my website is holisticobsession.com. There's buttons all over the place, all over that website that says book a free connection call. I love these connection calls because they are so much fun for me and so empowering for the person I'm speaking with, because sometimes, or not sometimes, often, is the first time someone has felt safe, seen, heard, and valued in a health and wellness setting. And I think it's so important for someone to walk away feeling that way and feeling hope, maybe for the first time. So it's simply a 30-minute conversation. It's no cost. I think it's just an important service that I offer. It's a chance to tell your story. It's a chance for me to learn about you. What are your health challenges? What are your goals? What have you tried? What worked? What didn't work? Because when I have that understanding, I don't assume to think everybody needs the same lab work, because they don't. Everyone should be individualized. And so we walk away from that conversation with me understanding what you've got going on and you understanding how I can help, what labs we might run, what kind of services would be a good opportunity for you. And then you decide, if you want to move forward with anything. But just go to holisticobsession.com, click on the button that says book a free connection call.
And I'll make sure it's in the show notes. And as we wrap up, I would love to know, what is one thing that you would like all of the listeners to walk away with?
You are not stuck where you are. I don't care if you're 85 or 25. You are not stuck. I want you to walk away from this episode with hope that you can make incredibly positive changes in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. Everything's connected. And maybe the reason you haven't made the progress that you wanted is because you haven't found the right puzzle pieces yet. And there are people out there, there's myself, there's other people out there like me, or that do their own thing. And just don't give up on yourself. Don't give up. Keep going. Even if you've been dismissed, even if you've been gaslit, even if you've been denied services because someone said, you're normal, everything's in range, or you've been told it's all in your head. There are a lot of people out there like me who will believe you, who will see you, who will hear you, and who will help you. You just got to find us. We're here and we're ready for you.
Thank you so much, Becca, for being here. You are a wealth of wisdom, a little library, encyclopedia. And I'll just make sure that all your links are in the show notes, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of Divine Lifestyles Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your episodes. If you really loved this episode, screenshot it and share it on social media. It will help us to continue to make an impact. With gratitude and love always, keep illuminating your path.